My 33 male and wife, 31 female, have been married for 3 years. Our marriage has been good. We own a house and a dog. I always thought I was being a good husband, being the one that provided and faced all the setbacks we encountered. This morning, however, I snooped through her phone and saw some conversation that completely changed my perception. It was one of her guy friends, and while the messages didn't sound sexual in nature, there were definite undertones of flirting. We talked about it, and apparently her male friends are like that. They send boundary-crossing messages, and she just doesn't tell them anything because she doesn't want to have any problem with them. I found this extremely ridiculous, but I wasn't going to tell her what I really thought at that moment. She had a look on her face that showed me she was regretting something. I tried pushing a little bit further with more questions, but she started crying, telling me I should just trust her. She told me she was actually meeting one of them tomorrow and suggested we should all hang out. I reminded her I had to work, and once again, she looked upset. I'm overcome with dread. I know she's up to something, and my marriage could be on the line. My plan is to follow her incognito tomorrow. Am I overreacting? Update. It has been a week, and a lot has happened since. I took a day off work and followed my wife on the day she went out with her friend. They went to a coffee shop, then to a clothing store, and both came out with several bags each. Okay, nothing incriminating, but still not something I'd consider acceptable for a married woman. I wanted more, so I waited, because I knew I'd get more. They drove out of the city limits and headed straight to a hotel. I didn't bother following them to the lobby and seeing whether they checked in or not. In my mind, my marriage had already ended. I turned around and went home. I felt disturbed, nauseous. I didn't really know what to do when she got back home. I felt emotionless. All the effort I had put into the relationship had just vanished in a second. She texted me a while later saying she was drinking with some friends and would arrive late. I waited. She got home at around 1 a.m. She looked spent. I felt like throwing up because I knew what consumed so much of her energy. The next day, I confronted her. I explained everything I had seen. I was being constantly interrupted by her. I don't know what you're talking about, or you're taking things too seriously. Her face changed when I mentioned the hotel. That's where she started to realize I wasn't bluffing, and her cover was blown. She started to beg for forgiveness, saying she didn't mean to do it, that it just happened. I told her I wanted her out of the house, and I needed time to think. She moved out that evening and is currently living with her brother. I've seen a lawyer, and I'll soon file for divorce. Recently, she texted me through a games chat we used to play together, saying she was really sorry and wanted to change. I have her blocked from almost all social media. She said she needs a second chance, more like demanded it. When I didn't respond, she started to get more passive-aggressive. I'm feeling pretty shitty right now, but I'm sure I'll find peace in the end. Thank you for all the support, by the way. Story 2. I feel like I'm dying inside. I've barely slept since Friday, and the last time I ate was Sunday morning. I feel sick to the stomach and numb. These have easily been the worst few days of my life, combined with this being the worst year of my life. D-Day was on Sunday, and I've more or less just been staring off into space, crying, or looking at this sub since then. I was out of town this weekend, and my wife of 4 years went clubbing with one of her friends. She got drunk and went to an acquaintance's house. This acquaintance is a friend of a friend. I was actually really anxious and worried sick that night because something felt wrong. I had been texting and calling several times throughout the night, and her texts took 1 hour or more to come back. Eventually, I got through to her at 4 a.m. via call, and she said she'd got home safe, that she loved me and was going to sleep. This was a lie. She was at his place, and right after the phone call, she went and fucked him. Then in the morning, when sober, I'm assuming, she fucked him again. In the morning, I was still worried, and I called and noticed we have an app that intermittently shows location, that she was still downtown. I mentioned that it showed her as still downtown, and she said that was weird because she was at home. But I thought, whatever, maybe it was a bug. So I accepted it, and we continued the conversation and day normally. Later that day, we talked via video chat, and she confessed and said she slept with him. She was actually the one who wanted to video chat and tell me about it. She seemed actually remorseful and was crying. To be honest, I still am not sure if she confessed because I was suspicious and saw the location. I called her every name in the book, yelled at her and everything. I asked if she was drunk and she said yes. Until last night, I was just so numb, shocked, and confused that I had no idea what to do and wasn't thinking clearly enough to even know if I wanted to even give it a shot. In the past, I had promised myself that if this ever happened, I would end things immediately and without question. We reconciled, and she said she's willing to not go clubbing and to stop drinking. She's willing to do counseling with me and to read the books that you guys talk about on the sub. I can't get the images and thoughts of her lying to me on the phone that she was safe at home and that she loved me, then minutes after getting railed by the guy. Then having it happen again in the morning when she was probably sober. I'm still so angry and so bitter. I've had thoughts of vengeance by fucking some random girl, but have resisted it. She had and has no contact with the acquaintance, and I'm quite sure of it. She claims this hasn't happened before, and I believe her 75%. I'm just so angry still. I don't know if she did this all with the intention of not getting caught and then only told me because I was suspicious. She said she was drunk, but yet she had sex again with him in the morning. I'm just so lost and so in pain. I feel like I'll never see her the same and never trust her like I did before. My world is crumbling and I'm just so furious. I can't get the images of what might have happened with him out of my head. We love each other very much, and there were no issues with the relationship before, except save for moderately decreased sex in the past few months. She regrets it and is willing to work on whatever I want her to and says that it won't happen again. Will things ever be the same? Will I ever trust her again? Did I make the right decision by letting her have another chance? Did I sweep things under the rug and forgive her too easily? I want so much to believe her and give it a shot, but it still hurts so much. I'm still so incredibly angry and depressed. I'm just sitting around doing nothing and crying. Edit. He was there because it's a club that he always goes to. It's also a club that her and my friends go to. I don't think she went there knowing or intentionally wanting to meet him. Her friend was completely drunk, and I also believe that, as I've seen it before. Yes, as far as going into fix-it mode, I suppose that was my natural instinct. I'd been planning on staying at a friend's for a while to clear my head and come back to reality, but she convinced me to come home while I was at the airport. Every day has been hard. At first, I was just numb and frozen in shock. Now that I'm back in town, everything feels so much more real, and it hurts me every time I think about it. The betrayal, the lies, the pain, the images. Sometimes it's hard to breathe. I feel like I have to force myself to inhale. I still haven't eaten since Sunday and get sick at the thought of food. But I was able to force myself out of the house today. Each day is hard, and I'm trying my best to get by. I know everyone here will think I'm the biggest fool, chump, and idiot ever, but I want to try to make my relationship work. I'm going to try to work with her, but I know it's not going to be easy. I'm really hoping she's willing to put the effort and change and make me trust her again. Update. Hi all. Recently been wondering if my wayward wife has been doing enough. She had a drunk one-night stand when I was out of town about 3 months ago and confessed quickly after. She has no contact with AP, and I can verify this. We're in couples therapy. She has willingly stopped going clubbing, what led to the ONS. I also have all passwords of all accounts. We also share location information via an app. I was actually feeling pretty good a few weeks ago, but last week and this week, I've been feeling like shit again and unable to block out the mind movies. Currently, there still feels like something is missing to me. There is a sense that she's already moved on from this, that she doesn't know or understand the pain I'm still feeling every day. I feel like she wonders why I'm still traumatized. I feel like somehow she doesn't seem remorseful or sorry enough. Sometimes I'm unsure about how sorry she is, but I don't know if it's my mind just playing tricks on me, that she just wants us to get past this. When we talk about it, sometimes I can sense frustration from her. However, despite all this, I'm unable to pinpoint what I want from her exactly, unable to pinpoint what she could do that could help me feel better, or if that something even exists. All of this makes me anxious that nothing has changed about her and that she will cheat on me again one day in another ONS. I don't know if my emotions are just pushing me into angry and depressive cycles, preventing me from being satisfied with what she's done. Anybody have any insight on this? It's tough to say for certain she's cut off AP completely. Unless you have cloned her phone, in fact, it's difficult to be certain. There are so many ways she could have gotten in contact, and it's unlikely you'd find out. Reason why your wife moved on so fast from this incident was because there were no consequences for her. It's good that she stopped clubbing. Hopefully she'll stick to it. Frequenting clubs while married is a recipe for disaster. People go to clubs to meet people of the opposite sex. It's not really a place to hang out with friends. There's booze, loud music, dancing, and people looking for a hookup. I wonder whether this was really the first time she'd messed up. I'd be cautious going forward, and honestly, if at some point you feel any doubts, don't linger. Just divorce and move on. Now for some comments. It can be hard for the wayward spouse to bring up the topic, especially when they think we might be okay, because they're afraid of opening up the wound and upsetting us. It can be hard to get through to them that we didn't forget about it. It's always there in the back of your mind, and them mentioning it definitely doesn't make it worse. And in fact, it helps. Mine is still working on reminding himself he's allowed to talk about it even if I don't bring it up first. Do you think she might be struggling with the same impulse to keep quiet and pretend everything is fine to try to help you? She did something shameful, and it makes her sick to think about it. When you have a cringe-worthy, awful drunken hookup, even if you're single, you want to get that out of your mind right away. The problem is, of course, that it's upsetting you as well as her. You want her to lead the process here, not just tick all the boxes you're setting for her as grounds for forgiveness. So tell her that. Tell her you know she doesn't want to think about what she did, but it's important to you that she address it with you and continue apologizing for how she's made you feel. Otherwise, the resentment will eat at you, and when you express it, she'll get defensive.